This Jesus testimony might mess up your theology. 8 years ago, I was in East India training indigenous missionaries, and there's nothing like teaching people who have given up everything, family, friends, social status, and personal safety, all because Jesus has made them come alive in ways that most in the Western world could never understand. They're the ones that risk everything. So on the first day and after my teaching session, we broke for lunch. And food fellowship's a big deal, so students are stopping by to introduce themselves, and I asked them their story, their hopes, their dreams, and then one guy came up. Keep his privacy, which can be the difference between life and death there. I'll call him Micah. But he had this intensity, this gaze, this look of knowledge beyond his years. So I just went right to it. Hey, Micah, how'd you meet Jesus? I met Jesus when I died, he said. He now had my attention. Micah said he'd been diagnosed with a weak heart early in life, but grew up in a rural but wealthy and devout Hindu home. He'd been schooled in multiple languages and was expected to go into business for his father. Never heard the name of Jesus, knew nothing of Christians, and was faithful to his gods. One day, in his early 20s, he felt his chest tighten. He went numb, and he collapsed. And he remembered looking down at his body, his spirit floating above himself. He knew he was dead. As he hung above his body, Micah saw shadows shuffling towards him. And immediately I thought of the scene from that old Patrick Swayze movie, Ghost, right? That fear gripped him as pure darkness surrounded him, but just as the shadows reached him, Micah saw a bright light, bright as the sun. And as the light grew brighter, he saw a great body of water like the ocean, with the white light looking as if it was walking towards him upon the waves. The shadows vanished from around Micah, and Micah could make out a man within the white light, pointing at Micah's body laying on the ground. And a voice came from the light. You are mine. My name is Jesus. Find me. Micah woke in the hospital. He'd been in a coma for days. The doctor said he had been found unresponsive in the street due to catastrophic heart failure. He was, for all intents and purposes, dead. However, someone, while waiting for help, began administering CPR, bringing him back from the brink. In the hospital, he was touch and go, but now was expected to make a full recovery with surgery that actually corrected numerous heart issues. When he told me this, opened his shirt to show me the massive cross-shaped scar that ran all the way down his sternum to his lower ribs. And weeks later, he was released from the hospital. And as his family wheeled him down the street into an awaiting car, they passed a telephone pole with the poster. And on that poster was a flyer for a local missionary school with the words, Find Jesus. And that was the beginning of a journey. His love for Jesus cost him everything. His family disowned him, his village rejected him, and his financial future was destroyed. But he gained everything, and I had the privilege to train him. He now goes into remote villages in the darkest of places, preaching the love of Christ, sharing his story, and leading people into true freedom and love, not condemnation, not judgment or anger, but pure love. And now you've heard this story and are like, wow, yeah, amazing, power of God. All that stuff, right? Take a pause. His testimony brings up some testy theological issues, no? Micah had never believed in, believed on, had ever even heard the name of Jesus, and died. Micah hadn't received water baptism, prayer ministry, asked for forgiveness or remission of sins, nor had he led a life of progressive sanctification. His life, as was normal in this part of India, had been dedicated to the vengeful goddess Kali, as well as countless other gods. Never heard the name of Jesus, yet there Jesus was. And when Jesus introduced himself, he didn't say his real name, Yeshua, and he didn't say his name in Bengali, Yeshu. He said Jesus. Why? You can write the English name Jesus in that part of India and get away with it, because very few speak English. That's how crazy this all is. And I believe every single bit of Micah's story. I was there. I felt the resonance from his very being. He had the scars to prove it, the intensity of his eyes, his faith, his dedication. These are things that will never leave me. When you meet someone who has physically met Christ, you know. It's a vibe, a frequency shift. It's looking into eyes that know so much more than these three simple dimensions we think is reality. Micah's was the very definition of a life transformed and ready to give his all, even until death, to spread the love of Christ. And his testimony fractures so much of what we believe to be correct theology. You can say whatever you want, that Jesus specially selected him, that he never had a chance to refuse the gospel, so that's why Jesus came to him. But if that's the case, why spread the gospel at all, right? What is the gospel we should be giving away? I know my thoughts on all this, but I'm interested in yours, and I want to hear them. So please, leave your thoughts about this below. Comments, complaints, leave them. Love to read them. Follow for more.